David murdered a man to cover up an affair, then led worship the next Sunday. For a year, nobody knew. When God finally exposed him, what David did next is the one thing the modern church struggles to preach, because they'd have to look at themselves. And before you compare David to those fallen megachurch pastors, don't. They wrote books. He wrote Psalm 51. They hired PR teams, and David tore his clothes. They blamed everyone else. And David said, I have sinned against the Lord. The difference? Repentance. And what David did after the baby died, no one saw coming. His rooftop moment just might be yours too. God chose a shepherd. When the king offered him armor, David said no. He didn't need man's protection. He had God's. One stone, one giant, dead. This was a man who worshiped with everything, who trusted God when it made no sense, who stayed humble when everyone else would have gotten proud. But that's not where the story ends. Years later, King David stood on his rooftop. The shepherd boy had become the most powerful man in Israel. And power, as we know, changes people. We see it everywhere. The pastor who built a megachurch, then got caught. The politician who promised to drain the swamp, then became it. The influencer who preached purity, then deleted everything when the screenshots leaked. David wasn't different. He just lived before Twitter. You know what's crazy? You know the one sin about David nobody talks about? Sure, they'll talk about the affair, they'll talk about the murder, but nobody ever brings up the year of silence. Carl Lentz, Ravi Zacharias, Jerry Falwell Jr., all these men had years of silence. David had 365 days. How many do you have? Because sin doesn't just destroy you in the moment. It destroys you in the cover-up, in the meetings where you pretend everything's fine, in the worship services where you lift your hands but your heart is dead. David didn't just fall on the rooftop. He fell every day for 365 days when he chose a lie over the truth. He saw a woman, Bathsheba. She was beautiful. She was also married. He sent for her anyway. One night, one choice, and everything unraveled. The man who killed Goliath murdered a loyal soldier just to cover it all up, and he felt nothing. Pause this video right now. Who in your life would you throw under the bus to protect your reputation? He married the widow and problem solved, or so he thought. Then Nathan showed up. He told David a story about a rich man who stole a poor man's only lamb and butchered it. David exploded. That man deserves to die. Nathan looked him in the eye. He said, you are that man. The baby died 7 days later. David fasted. He laid on the ground. He begged God to spare the child. For 7 days, he didn't eat, didn't sleep, just wept. When the baby died, servants were scared to tell him because they thought he might do something terrible. But David got up. He washed his face and he worshiped God. He said about the child, I will go to him, but he will not return to me. Let me show you the difference between religion and repentance. Religion says, I made a mistake. Repentance says, I have sinned against the Lord. Religion hires lawyers. Repentance writes Psalm 51. Religion asks, how do I protect my reputation? While repentance asks, how do I get right with God? Religion manages the fallout. Repentance faces the consequences. Religion gets back to normal as fast as possible, while repentance stays on the ground until something changes. And if this resonates with you, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I'd love to journey together. Ever notice how we all become the rich man in Nathan's story? We see someone else's sin and we're furious. How could they do that? They should lose everything. And we look at our own, right? And suddenly there's context. There's a reason. Well, it's complicated. The business deal that wasn't quite honest. The way you talk to your wife, the way you talk to those that you love. David said that man deserves to die. He was talking about himself, and he didn't even know it. Remember those mega pastors from the beginning? They saw someone else's sin. David saw his own. That's the difference between exposure and repentance. What are you furious at right now? What if you're looking in a mirror? David said, have mercy on me, oh God. According to your unfailing love, wash away all my iniquity. Create in me a pure heart. Do not cast me from your presence. The man after God's own heart learned something that we all need to know, and he wrote it down in the Psalms. God's mercy is greater than our sin. Saul made excuses, while David gave confession. David's sin didn't disqualify him from God's mercy, and yours won't either. But what is your rooftop moment? What are you looking at out there that's not yours? Confess it. Give it over to the Lord before Nathan shows up. Find Jesus, fight culture, and spread the good news.